Generally calm people of Reddit, what made you lose your absolute shit that time? My grandfather paed away, so I told my boss that I had to take a couple of days off to be with my family. He had the nerve to tell me work was more important than family and threatened to fire me. I went off on him in the middle of the office for a solid 5 minutes before quitting and rushing home. Goody on ya. I lost my shit when I was late for work because my colleague asked me to cover their shift and gave me the wrong time, and it was my fault from the company's perspective. Wow, did your colleague even try to back you up? My friend is bad with math. I was explaining a thing once, it took 10 minutes, he tells me he doesn't get it, so I sit there and explain this thing more deeply, took 30 minutes, he's like. Takes in-ear headphones out of ear, he was covering it with his hand. Oh sorry, I wasn't listening to you, found this amazing radio recently. I lost my shit. My absolute biggest pet peeve is when people come up and ask me a question, then when I answer them they take out their headphones and say, what? High school kids can be the worst. My friend, who is usually a chill person, had some girl make fun of her brother who was killed, and she ended up beating the shit out of her, smashing her face into the wall, and getting kicked out of our school for it. My 7th FING trip to the DMV when trying to reinstate my license. Every single time they scrutinized my paperwork and always managed to find something wrong and would send me away to fix it. On this 7th trip, they finally resorted to, you have no proof that you ever had a license, despite my piles of paperwork showing my driving record, among other things. I refused to leave the seat and said, you people are FING monsters. A manager was called. We argued. He said he believed that I had had a license, but there was just no proof, and he couldn't risk accepting my paperwork in case someone checked it. I said I refused to leave the seat until I knew exactly what was needed. Manager said, tell you what, I can contact less than last state I lived in, and could get a verification that I had had a license there. It would take 3 minutes. That's when I yelled in the DMV, why wasn't that the first FING thing you said? Anyway, I got my license back. I grew up on a farm, and one day several cows decided that since their head could fit through a small hole in a gate, then their whole body could fit through a small hole in a gate. This resulted in a broken gate, a cow stuck in the broken gate, several cows roaming freely in a field after escaping through the broken gate, and me absolutely losing my shit. I now work in IT. Cows are dumb. In 6th grade, a group of some 4 kids took monopoly of the back of the bus, a true power move. I always minded my own business and tried to sit away from them. For one, they all didn't understand basic hygiene and smelled even though they were older than me. Anyway, turns out the bus driver was their quiet, retired grandpa, who would never tell them to stop bullying or doing dumb shit. So one time they have a FING spitting war, as in they spit across the seats at each other as they jump seats for cover. At one point I was the seat in the middle, and a giant wad of their disgusting spit hit me square in my face. I then proceeded to take my Pearson history book, one of those big heavy hardcover textbooks, and smashed him over the head with it. Granted, this was me telling them to stop their nonsense several times. The spitting stopped after that. Anyway, the book cover cracked and had to pay at the end of the year, but I regret nothing. Holy F, how do you crack one of those covers? Another unit lied to me about the condition a patient was in. I went into the supply room and screamed to vent at another nurse. Poor girl remains the only person at work to ever see me lose my shit. What condition was the patient in? A kid bit me on the chest in kindergarten. I waited till after nap time to run him over with my tricycle. So that's how you got fired from there. In woodwork, metalwork CLA at school in grade 8 or 9 or so. This douche keeps hitting my work with a steel rule and generally FING with my stuff. Basically just blasted him top of my lungs for a good 5 minutes. Teacher was there. Said absolutely nothing. Shop teacher, he probably cracked a beer to watch, and was collecting bets from the other students. I never liked playing football in general just because I wasn't an aggressive person. But in 5th grade I had a teammate who during practice scrimmages would always line up across from me. At the snap he would grab me by my face mask and pull me to the ground. I let it go on for most of the season until I started having neck issues and pains, and still do. During one of our final practices I was getting water across the field and decided enough was enough. I sprinted full charge across the field, sacked him with all my weight, and while I pinned him down under me grabbing his face mask and repeatedly slammed his head into the dirt until my coaches pulled me off him. After practice I was running laps until my mom came to get me, and when the season ended I decided to switch to basketball. My dad was in hospital after having a stroke. I was 14 at the time and still in school. This absolute little shit of a kid kept going on about how my dad was going to die, that he deserved it, etc. I put up with it all morning, but at lunch he cornered me. Normally I took all the beatings and bullying, but not that day. I lost my shit. I don't remember what happened, but apparently it took 3 adults to pull my 14-year-old, 100-pound self off him. I regret nothing. He didn't mess with me after that. When it comes to bullying, violence really does solve your problems. When my ex-wife's step-brother told us a story about how he killed his neighbor's cat for fun, and then lied to his neighbor about having not seen it. When they brought the third sales manager in, 4 hours into my 90-minute timeshare presentation. When someone's kid at Golden Corral decided to put their hands in food containers and they did nothing about it. Reason number 2,654,768 not to eat at Golden Corral. My college made us buy parking pies for guests in the parking lot, which was only ever maybe 60% full even on weekends. My girlfriend came to visit and we bought the $8 paw, and the front desk girl gave us a pencil to fill it out with our license plate and arrival time, etc. When she went to leave Sunday there were 3 parking tickets, one for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, of $25 each because we wrote the parking paw in pencil. Rage-inducing. As if we aren't already paying enough money. Back in school, tiny lockers stacked right next to each other. Locker neighbor would always close mine while I was fishing through my backpack. Went on every day for the whole year. He thought it was funny. Last day of school I'd had it, punched him across the cheek. He didn't do it the next year, and didn't bother telling any adult because he knew he was an A.